My name is Ellie Davis, and I'm talking with Susan Smith for the League of Women Voters Oral History.
I've lived in Radnor for 42 years, moving out of Center City to come to Radnor so that my three boys could go to the excellent public schools here. I became involved with the League in 1997. I had worked on and off as a substitute teacher. I was trained as a teacher and got a master's in education at Lesley College, which is now Lesley University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, after graduating with a degree in early childhood education at the University of Rhode Island. So I did not get involved with the league until I had finished some of my substitute teaching and developing a program with a wonderful woman named Sandy Schoenholtz at Radnor High School for school avoidant teenagers. And it was called The Program. And so after that experience and my last child graduating in 1996, I decided it was time to get involved with the league. My mother in law, Mary Smith, had been head of the League of Women Voters in Westchester County, New York State. And she was a fine example for me to follow in her retirement and doing that for over 25 years. So that's how it began.
Ms. Smith contributed to the League greatly by improving the group's visibility.
Uh, I think when I joined in 1997, I could see they needed more visibility and we needed to have things written in our local paper, but we also needed to be part of the Memorial Day parade to show that we were alive and well. Not that everyone could walk the mile from what we call the old Sears parking lot across from um, now Home Goods and Giant supermarket. Uh, and we made signs and we became something of a visibility that I'm not sure people realized that what we did. So we had signs and I had them made. They weren't homemade. I had them made by a sign maker, so they were light to carry and it was about our issues. And so you couldn't talk to people along Lancaster Avenue, but they could certainly read what we were saying and what issues were important to us. Then I thought too, I went to one of the luncheons. The luncheons were attended by 2 dozen people, and it was at the Overbrook Country Club. And I thought, we need to increase this up a few notches. So I said, okay. And I love to throw a party. I'd like to, I'm pretty social. So I worked with a few people and I said, do you mind? But I think I can find some wonderful speakers that would have a bigger draw and get everyone to uh, bring 5 guests. So over the last 15 or 20 years, we've had close to 95 or 100 people who attend the holiday luncheon. That's what it was. And we've had some very attractive and influential speakers. And so this coming year, we will have Sinye Wilkerson, who's retired. She was a cartoonist for the Inquirer. But in the past, we've had um, people like Midge Randell, who talked about the fourth grade project that she's involved with for civics. We've had Bob Edgar. What a shame that he had passed away. He was one of our speakers. We had Joe Torsella 2 years ago, who was a state treasurer and really talked about uh, how the Treasury needed to be reorganized. Um, we've had really some incredible people. So I wish I had the list in front of me, but they always seem to have a draw. So,
Ms. Smith was one of the League members who had the idea to honor someone at this luncheon with the Civic Participation Award.
The Civic Participation Award is really to honor those people who are working and who are unsung heroes. So I guess that was another thing that probably Roberta and I came up with, not just me. But we've been doing that for quite a few years now. And so we picked local people here who have made some difference in Radnor Township.
As a member of the League, Miss Smith's interests ranged from education to gun violence.
The most important issue at that particular time was having my own public schools and the city schools, which were suffering, that the education of children throughout the state needed to be more equal. It's still a problem today, and I'm still concerned about it. But that issue uh, was left in the rears after I kept reading the paper, usually in the region section of the Inquirer, and I was so concerned about gun violence, and I still am. I organized with other people to get 3 buses to leave Radnor Middle School for the Million Moms March in the year 2000. The Million Moms March was organized to be on the mall in Washington, D.C. And we got up bright and early. We filled those buses, not just with women, but some men, and we took off for DC. We parked in a remote parking area, and then we took the shuttle buses and the subway to get to the mall. I've never seen as many women gathered in one particular place in my whole lifetime, even though I had participated in other marches and other parades. During that march, there were wonderful jumbotrons, there were some singers, there was a lot of energy and a lot of passion from women who had lost children to gun violence. And I was so impressed with the attitudes of we can do this. The homemade signs were incredible. One that stood out to me was the sign that said, "We need to change the law. We don't have flintlocks anymore. We don't have long guns to shoot deer and bear in the woods. It's now automatics, and the magazines are way too great, and we have to put a stop to this." So I've gotten involved from that particular organization to Heeding God's Call, to Ceasefire PA, to the Brady campaign. And here we are, 2021, and we haven't solved the homicide and the proliferation of guns throughout the United States. And I think eventually it's only through legislation that we're going to be able to make a turn for the best. And I'm hoping it will be universal background checks. I hope that they will put limits on the amount of magazines that can be sold, and that we will take away this ghost gun that is popular right now, because the ghost gun, anyone can build it, but there's no serial number to follow it. And so it goes back and forth from one criminal to the next.
Though there's still an uphill battle to lessening gun violence, Miss Smith spoke about the successes of the League, including increasing participation, the Open Space Initiative, and improving access to voting.
The league grew under Roberta Winter's presidency. She is the Energizer Bunny as far as I'm concerned. I think there's more civic participation. People know we're alive. Another branch of the league that I haven't really been instrumental in, but I think it's pretty powerful, is the open space and the trail. So there was a branch of women who really were behind that, and they made it happen. I didn't participate in that. I had my own issues, and that's all I could handle were guns and voting. Well, I think that this township has a wealth of talent, and They have some very thoughtful people who really roll up their sleeves and to make it happen. We would not have that trail without these League of Women Voters. We would not have some of the voting that goes on and the different kind of voting without the state and national league. We wouldn't have vote by mail without the league pushing that particular, making voting easier for everyone. So I'm very proud of the whole organization. I just want more people to know about it. The voting rights for people is foremost of what the league has to accomplish. And they have to make that their priority in this climate. And I would encourage league members to work at the polls. I think you get to see grassroots and the sticky wicket issues that happen at a polling place. I think that they're thoughtful. They're not rebel rousers, but they're determined. They look they look at all they study the issues. They come across as thoughtful and articulate, and that's what you have to do. We see what happens in some of the township meetings when people get a little hysterical or they don't know how to negotiate or weave through the nonsense that can go on there. And I don't think I would ever want to be a commissioner because you have to put up with so much nonsense, I'll call it.
Amidst her work, Miss Smith also prioritized fostering friendship and community.
I have the advantage of having a large home and plenty of parking. And so the league meetings, particularly the ones that would be for the annual meeting, the meeting before the luncheon, the meetings before the summer and the Memorial Day parade, would happen at my house. But I tried to make it something that everyone would want to come to, so that it wasn't just a meeting, but it was a social time. So we would have pizza parties, we would have faith salads, you bring a topping, uh, we wine and cheese. It was just a pleasant afternoon or evening. But I had the advantage of having a big porch and a large home. And I had a spouse who really believed in all of this. And so he was glad to come to the meetings too.
And finally, a message to anyone considering joining the League.
I would say if you're interested in your child's education and you're interested in the quality of life here in your township and in the state, join the league. You will learn a lot. You'll meet some fascinating and thoughtful women and men and participate. Try it on for size because we study the issues, and I, I don't know if I could. My life certainly wouldn't be as full without the league being in my life in the last 27, maybe it's 24 years, and and interesting people and new friends, and I think that's good. I want people to understand that it's not all work. There's a lot of fun and a lot of friendship is built. You work on some issues together, but then all of a sudden you have a new best friend and you do some other things. And it could be not just a league, it could be being part of a school board, a commissioner. Get involved. Don't sit there and complain. Do something.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the League of Women Voters Oral History. And thank you to Susan Smith for talking about taking civic action and having fun in the process. Next, we'll be talking to Cheryl Tamola about her environmental efforts. Thanks again for listening, and remember to stay civically engaged.